to die for what I'm living for. And if you didn't get it, go and live some more. I'ma run it up. Gotta get some more, we ain't done enough. Can't fake or imitate. Short grass so no snakes get in the way. John Madden called me, I got the play. In the maze, you gotta find a way. Or make one, living for the future, not yesterday. Wanna be great, do what it takes. Willing to rise for the right reasons. And you can't kick us out cause we not leaving. Bring all my flowers while I'm still breathing. Made a promise every day gon' be my season. Wanna sleep on greatness, better keep dreaming. Hall of Fame, need to name this for one reason. I'm a legend. I'm a legend.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Ward Radio live stream. I am your host, Cardin Ellis. And today I am joined in the studio by a killer cast via Zoom. We have none other than Jonah Barnes, the Associate Professor of All Things Apocryphal. And back by popular demand, you guys might remember him from the popular episode Expert Temple Predictions. Now we've got kind of like a part two going on. Will this be the next strategic temple? We're guessing temples again. We're rolling our dice here with our quant, with our Q, with our wizard behind the curtain, Matt Martinich here, that's going to give us the stats. He's going to give us the data, dare I say, over dogma, over where the next church is going to be. If you think you know, you guessed wrong. Who knows? He does. Because he's the, like I said, the proverbial wizard behind the curtain who's just looking at all the data, all the sociology. He bribes people in the church office building.
Bribes people a lot. Yeah,
exactly. He's got it all, and he's going to share it with us. Everybody, as you are coming into the stream, please make sure that you like this stream. Please make sure that you share this with your friends. And before we get started, big shout out to everybody who has been purchasing items for us on the Ward Radio Amazon wish list, links to which will be in the description of this video. This is a power bank that came at us from one Stripling Boomer. Great username. Stripling Boomer. Love it. Says, for Brittany the Shadow, keep it charged and in the studio, probably based off of last night's live stream where, unfortunately, her phone ran out. We're solving this problem. She's solving this problem with a power bank. Also, just got this handy dandy little pencil sharpener for all the note taking that happens in the Ward Radio Wigwam. Thank you very much for everybody that has contributed to this show with the Amazon wish list. Links to that will be in the description. Until then, shout out to everybody else coming into the chat. If you guys want to send us a super chat, we'll do our best to read that super chat live on air, as long as it is germane and appropriate to the conversation. Without any further ado, Jonah, tell us what's going on. Introduce us to our guest. Let's rock and roll, my man.
So if any of you don't know who Matt Martinich is, shame on you. Shame on you, because Matt Martinich, he knows more about the church than the church knows about the church. He is like, if you've seen Game of Thrones, do you remember the eunuch who's like the master of secrets, Viserys or whatever?
Did you just call Matt like a eunuch?
No, I mean, talking about the character in Game of Thrones. He's the master of whispers or whatever. He like has spies everywhere, and that's how he like curates his power, because he knows what's going on. That's like Matt Martinich. He's got a guy in every city in Africa and in Asia, and they're reporting to him all. He always puts his finger to his ear. If you
and he's got one of those bouncy weightlifting yoga balls behind him in his studio, so you know that he's smart, and you got to take him serious. Because right below
solid lead, he uses that to weightlift.
Yeah, right below his Celestron $99 what's it called? $99 Costco telescope for staring at the moon. He's got the yoga ball. You know, this guy it's Elon Musk 2.0 is basically what we're dealing with.
So you need to go check out LDS Church Growth at .blogspot.com. LDSchurchgrowth.blogspot.com. That's where Matt curates all this information that he finds and puts it up there for people to read. It's amazing, the things that he finds. I'm not kidding. Like, he knows more about the growth of the church than any single person in the church, like anywhere. And so you're going to see tonight. Now you have an opportunity. You can ask anything about the church, where it's going, where it is, how it's doing in any place. And I'll bet you that Matt knows the answer. So if you super chat any questions for Matt as we go, I bet you he can answer them, not to put any pressure on you, Matt. But he just recently posted, like he does every conference, his predictions for the next temples that are going to be announced. He has kind of a least likely list and a most likely list, and we're going to go through some of those. Matt, tell us about what has changed since last general conference, and then we will jump into your number 10 pick and work our way up to number 1. How are things been going the last 6 months?
Well, before I get started, I don't know if I've ever had an introduction like that, ever.
Yeah, baby.
No pressure.
Yeah. But anyways, so in terms of what's changed since last conference, so I think one of the biggest things that people have been talking about that I've also been paying attention to is we have really had not very many groundbreakings for a lot of the temples that have been announced in the last few years. And so that backlog of temples that's been announced has really been growing in terms of the number that have been announced but haven't started construction yet. So I think that's interesting. On Mondays, about 2:00 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, Mountain Daylight Time, is when we get those news releases usually released by the church. And, we haven't had too many being announced in terms of groundbreakings or locations or dedication dates. So hopefully that picks up, because the rate at which temples are being announced is faster than the rate that the church is building them, for sure. And that's been a trend going on for a number of years. So I think that's an important part to bring up today in terms of that initial question you asked, what's changed. And I think that pace has probably even maybe slowed a little bit in the last few months. But of course, it's dynamic. It can come and go, right? In terms of other changes, in Africa, we're really seeing a lot of very impressive growth, especially in places that have generally seen very little or no growth. So that's been a very exciting development for me to see, just because there's so much potential in Africa, receptive population, and many areas that are just minimally reached by the church.
So not places that we haven't been in before and now it's growing, but places that we've been in and haven't had growth and now we do have growth.
Exactly. A great example of that would be, not to go off into too many examples, but would be Malawi. So the church has been in Malawi for about 25 years. Really pretty slow growth for most of that time. In the last 18 months, we've had the first 2 stakes created in Malawi. We had a new district created just in the last couple of weeks. That was split off from one of the new stakes that was created less than a year ago. And then we also had a second mission branch created in the city of Mzuzu, which is also really impressive because that first branch was created not too long ago. So, I mean, that's a country
what
where
happened?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's what you want to find out is, well, what changed, right? And to be honest with Malawi, I don't have too much information about what's going on in the church in that country, despite what you guys were insinuating that I have like spies everywhere. But in Malawi,
we know that you're in SpaceX. We know the church pays SpaceX.
Yeah.
The Elon Musk is an agent of Russell M. Nelson, and we will have our Starbase collab. We will have Starbase collab.
Don't play coy with us, Matt. We know you know. It's okay. You don't want to tell us. That's fine. Whatever. But
well, what I will say with that area of the world is that we have had a lot more resources being allocated there. And we've also had a lot of growth with local leadership. And that's really been evidenced by these new stakes being created. And so I think that's a big part of it. In neighboring Tanzania, we've also had some very impressive growth. The first stake was created there not just in the last couple months. Whereas that was a country, the church has been there for, 35 years and
wow.
seen very little growth up until the last just couple of years. And I think a lot of that in Tanzania, the first mission was created there just about 5 years ago. And also there was a big push to transition from English to Swahili. And so there's been a lot of different changes going on, besides just a rebalancing of resources that I think has contributed to a lot of this growth we've been seeing. But put it into perspective, the church is still very, very small in these countries. Both these countries have less than 10,000 members, and each of these countries, Tanzania has like 55 to 60 million people in it, so there's a lot of room for growth, and things have looked very positive so far.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get to your list, unless we want to clear out those super chats.
Yeah, I was about going to say, I'll just read these super chats super fast. Stephen Diamond says 2 new BYUs, one in Texas and one on the East Coast with temples, obviously, and one at the priesthood restoration site. Restoration site. Sorry about that one, Steve. 100% true, definitely. Actually, I have been a big proponent for a long time of many of the old temples being converted into small BYU campuses similar to BYU Idaho. For example, people don't realize the Los Angeles temple is sitting on 26 acres. The beautiful temple that you see from the street is only really a portion. It goes back an entire Los Angeles city block, one of the city blocks from the 20s, not one of the city blocks from the 60s, okay? Goes back, I swear it's like a quarter mile or something absurd, to the next street, the next exit on the freeway up there, and there's a small chapel there. They share a small flag lot with like an elementary school, and then there's temple patron apartments, a distribution center, a frickin' boiler room, and a lot of this is stuff that might need updating, but at the end of the day, if you put a parking garage to the west side of the Los Angeles temple and then built a massive 8-story HVAC, you could have a liberal arts campus, or you could have a trade school where people learn how to be electricians, contractors, pest control professionals, nurses, whatever, you could use that acreage that the church already owns, is protected by law, and really only accommodates 10% of the amount of people that used to go to Los Angeles Temple, because now with the Yorba Linda Temple, with the Newport Beach Temple, with the San Diego Temple, with the Fresno Temple getting built, and with all these other temples that have taken out market share, and also with Los Angeles having lost 55, not Los Angeles, California, having lost 55 wards, now these temples aren't serving people in these urban areas as much because there's been this massive divestment from urban areas. And by the way, it's not coming back anytime soon. It's not coming back anytime soon. In the next 50 years, sure, there'll be a return to Los Angeles. Sure, there's always people coming here for different types of trades, especially Hollywood. But with the deindustrialization of California, the cultural relevance of Los Angeles, and the necessity for like a film school or a trade school, think of the damage that could be done on 20 acres with the CES system. If somebody in the church office building would put their pants on, I'm sorry, if somebody would have vision, and just behave like the empire we are, you know what I'm saying?
No, I think they're saving up for Beijing, BYU Beijing. Can we get some likes? Can we get some likes for BYU Beijing, people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We need a BYU in Europe too. There's plenty of European members that don't have a BYU there. There's plenty of Asian members that don't have a BYU there, and a BYU like what? Sierra Leone? That would be tough.
That'd be amazing. So Matt, is that in the works?
You'd know.
This
is something that David Stewart and I have talked about for decades in terms of the need for more BYU campuses. And I think the church has decided not to do that, instead focus on the Pathways program as a substitute. And I think that there's some wisdom in that, but the downside to that is I'm not sure if that really provides the community that like BYU would provide. Now, I've never been to a church school. I had no desire to go to a church school. I mean, I went to CU Boulder, which, us active Latter-day Saints are a very small minority at. But I mean, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with church schools because they really draw away a lot of the active members from reaching out and being around their peers when they're at a very sensitive time for being able to join the church and stay active for the rest of their lives. I saw that all the time at CU Boulder. We had convert baptisms, oftentimes monthly. And a lot of these converts serve missions. I know one of them, his name is Clint Laylaw. He actually has he's a professor at UVU in Utah and has a reptiles channel on YouTube. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential there, but when you have these church schools, they really take a lot of the kind of cream of the crop in terms of those young single adults. And of course, it's great for them meeting other people, but it does come at the cost of them not
let's
being
split the
out there
difference
to be the salt of the earth kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Let's split the difference. Like a robust institute building with a massive basketball court, an indoor pool, a freaking arcade, a hangout area, an area for mental health counseling, for financial planning. Yes, and a ball pit.
A ball
pit. Think how awesome that would be if staring at you is the Los Angeles Temple, reminding you of life's peak spirituality that is awaiting you if you maintain your worthiness, right next to an institute building meant for college kids going to UCLA, USC, CSU Los Angeles, the myriad junior colleges in the area. That would be epic.
Well, Ed here, the next super chat, Ed 2276 LDS says he's tired of strategic temples.
Okay.
He wants a tactical temple with a death ray. Can Matt predict when we will have a tactical temple in orbit? Matt?
I don't think that's in the cards. So
He's being coy again. He's being coy again. If you super chat with more money, he'll tell us the answer. Also, we have just received the records. We are thrilled to have received the records for the following new members of the Board Radio Worship: Corey Ann B, Nicole Terry, Shelly R, Kevin Nelson, Lisa Green, William Steer, Ignacio Delgado, Mandy Snell, Michael Kunkel, and Ryan Bradley. All those who would like to welcome these new members into the Word, please do so by manifesting with the uplifted W in the chat. Also, special thanks to Andrew Lee for doing his job as a Ward Radio missionary and gifting some of those memberships. Thank you, Andrew Lee.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, Andrew. And we already got Stephen Diamond and Fog Defense. You want to read Fog Defense's?
Yes.
Sorry. This is a new one from Stephen Diamond. He says at least 5 BYUs: BYU Mexico, BYU Brazil, BYU Philippines, BYU Ghana, maybe BYU Germany. Stop focusing on pathways. It's the worst way to learn. I'm not a huge fan of distance learning unless, of course, there's no other better alternative, at which point I think that it's a wonderful opportunity, but I see where you're coming from. And Fog Defense says we need a John Moses Browning Department of Weapons Design on every BYU campus and a Porter Rockwell Department of Apologetics as well. Okay, I am in full support of Americans going 100% Mandalorian. Like, we're just like, when people think like, you know what I'm saying? There's all these stereotypes out here. Indians and Dunkin' Donuts or 7-Eleven, you know, Jewish people in Diamond District in Los Angeles. We all saw Snatch. All right. You know, I think when people think Mormons, they need to think small arms manufacturer, design, and perfection. Like I want them to think that we are those dudes with the cheat codes in freaking Call of Duty and Counter-Strike, and that if you mess with a Mormon, weapons are his religion. We have such a robust and rich history in, you know, just settling the wild, wild west, all right, that if we don't capitalize on this, who will? Like, what we really need to do is be like the mafia and just show them that opening scene of American Primeval, no matter how pseudoscientific and historical it is, and just be like, hey, do you want to let us build our chapel?
Just
here?
warning you.
Do you want us to let us build? You don't want me to call my ancestors, do you? No, that's going to get so clipped, and they'd be like, Gordon Ellis is just a violent criminal. So, Mary Lou Howarth, you gotta.
Yes, we would love to welcome, and then we'll get to our number 10 prediction. Get ready. We are thrilled to have received the records for Biff H, Clark, Bend Rebel, Trobo 670, Spencer Beard, aka NJ, also Eric Hopkins, Eliza Pekele, Rad Data 4, Aiden Erickson, Michael Hales, Ikaika's Shuttle Service, Sterling Powell, Kranzak, Jennifer Rohrbaugh, A. Ingerson. Holy cow, Swenson Bailey, Boyd Lake, Carson H., Kaiser Squid, Kendi Payne. What is going on? Seaman, Lady Disdain, Alexia, Travis Delaney, Jake Davidson, Roy Gonzalez. Stop it, people. What is going on? Stop it.
No,
Rebecca
don't stop
Sorensen,
it. Keep going. Keep
Ethan
going.
Fife, Aussie Tad, Bo Hammer, Clay Boog, Jenny Murray, Niles Bay, Big T, Free Agency Absolutist, Duskborn. Oh, my.
Keep
Hebrew
them
Dunn,
coming,
Brett
Mary
Schur,
Lou
Stephen
Howarth.
Hill. All right, this is getting ridiculous, people. Okay, look.
Welcome
look,
and
stop
renew your memberships. Mary Lou
Listen,
Howarth, totally hooked you up. Remember to renew your memberships. You get what? And by the way, Niles Bay is our editor. Nathan Miles, also known as the Real Hollywood editor. He helps me edit a lot of the content here and has been super stepping it up. Big shout out to the Real Hollywood editor. You got to check out his YouTube channel. He's a 25, 30-year veteran of Tinseltown here, making all kinds of cool television stuff, everything from Spike TV to ESPN, and now he's helping us out here at Ward Radio. Super grateful for his help. Enjoy your membership, Nathan, and all you others that received it. Make sure to renew it because we're putting up a lot more members first and members only content here on the channel, and you're going to have a lot of fun watching it. So keep going.
Well, I mean, all those who would like to put 51 W's in the chat.
Yes.
For all those people, we're thrilled to have you. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, let's get to Matt Martinich, Sage. We call him Matt Stradamus, talking about where the new temples are going to be built. You can put your money down on it. I'm sure there's somewhere in Vegas where they will accept this bet. Where is the 10th most likely on your list here, Matt, where the next temple is going to be built? Hit us.
Yeah, sure. So that's Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. So the temple in Harare is just about complete. I think actually the dedication date might have just been announced, if I remember correctly. It can be a bit hard to keep up with everything just because there's just so much going on. Yeah, so the dedication date's not been announced. I think it's just the first temple president was announced. But anyway, so the reason why I have this on my list is in the top 10 is because Bulawayo has 3 stakes in it now. The first stake was created 2005. The most recent stake was created last year. Bulawayo has its own mission. It's had its own mission for a number of years now. It's a good distance away from Harare. So with it being about 250 miles or so away, seems like a pretty logical choice because there's a good center of strength there. And the church has been growing fairly moderately in that area of Zimbabwe with some districts. A district was created recently nearby there as well. So, Zimbabwe has a lot of members. It's actually one of the countries in Africa with the highest percentage of Latter-day Saints.
Wow.
And so, yeah, it seems like a pretty obvious choice for those reasons.
Wow. And you know what? All that growth is a bunch of Idaho farm boys. Bunch of Idaho farm boys learning fluent Zimbabwe or whatever the heck it is. Spreading the gospel. I love it.
Could you
also in Bulawayo they speak a different language than in Harare. Harare is Shona. But in terms of Africa, I mean, most of the mission work is done by Africans in Africa. So, and in the last few years, there's been a big push. I was interviewing a returning mission president recently, and he had told me that, they get actually very few Americans serving in Africa these days. There's actually more serving in Africa from like the Philippines and the South Pacific than Americans are now.
Huh.
Yeah, because Americans can't hack it. They're too busy complaining. Can you imagine a BYU Zimbabwe? Somebody would come in and be like, "Oh, are we in health class 201? Yes, you are. Okay, we're talking body positivity, right? No. Fruits, vegetables, meats. That's what we are talking." You know what I said? It's just like you can just imagine just the crestfallen look of the exchange student from North America, just like not knowing what to do when they don't have any of those cry bully leverages they're used to. Or sorry, any of that cry bully leverage they're used to. That would be so absolutely hilarious. I would love it. So I'm all for, how do you pronounce it again? Bulawayo, Zimbabwe?
Yes, I believe. I don't speak any languages native to Zimbabwe, but I believe Bulawayo. So.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay.
All right.
We
so
hope
next
it's true.
one.
Okay. Next.
All right. You want to wait number 9 then?
Yep.
Number
Number
9.
9.
So number 9 is São Paulo City, Philippines.
Okay.
So that is
Doesn't look like a city. It looks like a lake.
Well, it's south of the Laguna de Bay. So that's that big lake next to Manila. So this area of the Philippines, I mean, there's a number of stakes that are on the southern part of Luzon, but not far enough south where it'd be closer to Naga, where a temple's already been announced. So there'd be about 7 stakes that would be assigned to a temple there, 6 districts. The church has been growing fairly moderately in this area for a number of decades. Seems like a logical choice because there would be a number of stakes there served by it. and I was also a mission headquartered there, and that's been a factor that has increased the likelihood of temples being announced in a location if there's a mission based in that city.
Okay, interesting.
Cool. And how many temples will that be for the Philippines if that guy gets built?
That's a great question. Let me find out right now because I don't know off the top of my head because there's so
You
many
don't
now.
know off the top of your head?
I think there's 15. No, there's 13. 13 temples.
Oh, you were so far off.
So also, are they building cafeterias like they used to in the older temples and these new temples? They used to build them big. Now they're building them small.
No, they took out all the cafeterias in the current temples that had them. So
that is so lame. I want to go to a temple and eat some balut. I want my first balut to be a temple experience.
Temple balut.
I can't even think about that, man.
So I imagine it would be unforgettable if you did have that.
So I'm looking at your map that you put. So Matt puts a map of temples announced and under construction and things on his LDS churchgrowth.blogspot.com, and it looks like that if all of these get announced and built, just what we currently have in the Philippines, that'll make it 20 temples in the Philippines.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Jeez, it's crazy.
Dude,
okay.
I mean, there's almost 1 million members in the Philippines, so I mean that's like one temple for every 50,000 people, which I mean sounds pretty reasonable.
That's California, though. Like, isn't that California numbers? Don't we basically have? We dipped below 1 million, I believe, during COVID, correct? But I think California is somewhere at 1 million members. When we did that study on the influence before and after COVID on the move outs, Jonah, do you happen to remember those stats more or less?
I thought Google AI is telling me about 800,000 members.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think we went from 1.2 million to I thought we dipped into this like 750,000, but 750,000, 800,000, like whatever. It's 750,000 for lack of a better term. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, you're correct. It's about 750,000. I mean, church membership in California has gone down considerably, about 50,000 in the last, I think, 10, 15 years off the top of my head. So, I mean, last night I checked, it was like 720 some thousand members.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Hey, we are few, but we are strong.
We're
like the Marines of Mormonism, No, okay.
The Philippines are about the size of California anyways, but 20 temples? That just blows my mind that there's 20 temples there's going to be 20 temples in the Philippines. Anyways, all right, number 8.
All right, so number 8, let me get back to my list here, is Evanston, Wyoming. So I've had this on my list for decades. And so the reason why I have it on there is because I mean, we have several stakes that are located in southwestern Wyoming, and I mean they're far away from the temples, like in Utah, in terms of like in like Ogden, for example. That's where a lot of the members are assigned to go. But I mean, I do think that's a likely place to get a temple announced because there are a number of stakes in that area, and it's far enough away to where if they were to have a temple there, I imagine they'd probably see quite a jump in terms of temple attendance. So I think, that makes a lot of sense for those reasons. But again, it's been something I've predicted for a long time and it hasn't happened. So I had that with Price, Utah. That was on my list for, over a decade as well. And that happened this last conference. So maybe Evanston, Wyoming, or perhaps another city that's in that general area, whether it's Lyman or more towards Green River or something. I think a temple in that area of Wyoming is likely.
Okay.
Jeez. That's so cool. So cool. Okay. Number 7. Hey, wait a minute. First of all, all you people in the chat, you need to like the stream and you need to put in your guesses. Let's see if anybody can, just one. Can you guess? Because we're going to get to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more. Can you guess something on the list? Put it in the chat and we'll see. And if you get it right, then Cardin will send you a check for $10,000. You heard it right here. Okay, so like the stream, put in your predictions. Number 7, let's go.
All right, so number 7 is another temple for the greater Salt Lake metropolitan area.
Hey, the Apostate Temple.
Apostate Temple.
The Swingers Temple. It's the Swingers Temple.
No,
So I
gosh,
think Cottonwood
no.
Heights area would be probably most likely. I mean, there has been pretty considerable drop in active membership in that area just from people moving away primarily. But it's still, if you look at the distribution of temples in the Salt Lake area, that is a part of the valley that is where there's not a temple really based there. I mean, you have a temple that was, I mean, just recently dedicated last year in Taylorsville. You also have the temple in South Jordan. And of course, you have the Salt Lake Temple. But if you go to the east of that area, I mean, that whole area of the city does not have a temple nearby. So I think this is likely, if you look at the kind of ideal number of stakes for a Utah temple, it's typically about 20 to 30. And you could take stakes from those neighboring districts to be able to have enough temple or enough stakes to have a temple there. But I mean, one of the things that's hard, like you'd mentioned, I mean, with some of these older temples, they're very, very big. And so you think about, you know, the Salt Lake Temple. I mean, when it gets renovated and it's complete, it's going to be almost 400,000 square feet. It's going to be absolutely massive, you know, much bigger than it was previously. And then you look at Jordan River, it's about 150,000 square feet. Taylorsville is just 73,000. So, you know, I mean, with these bigger temples, you kind of wonder what are they going to do with the space that's not being used. I mean, the DC Temple is a great example of that. But I think based on really kind of how things have been looking with trends, I think that having like a medium to large temple in that Cottonwood Heights area appears likely.
Now, just before
Does it come
we all
with
get
copies
frustrated-
of the CES letter for all of the whiners that want to complain about their wholesome upbringings and blame it on their church parents, and then
It's
claim
the
that
temple. It's the temple, though. It's like,
but it's
if you're
Sandy.
going there, you're
It's
not
Sandy,
imposter.
Utah. It's like
So before we all whine about Utah getting another temple, when I was in Utah just a month ago for Roots Tech, somebody came into town for Roots Tech and they said, "Oh, we're in town, and we thought it'd be so." We came from Georgia, said it'd be so fun. We thought we'd attend a session in the temple, and we couldn't find an appointment anywhere. So we checked this temple, that temple, these. We checked all these temples in the area, and they're booked out solid. We couldn't find any place to go do a session, so
wow.
we're just not going to do it, and we're going to fly back to Georgia. And I thought, holy Moses, Utah's got how many temples, and they're keeping them filled. They're keeping them occupied. So no wonder the church keeps building them there. It's like people keep going. So
wow.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's exactly been, you know, what I've seen, you know, in a lot of places. And Utah is a powerhouse for temple work. I'm also really into genealogy, and I have about 5,000
Good for them. That's awesome.
names served for, you know, in terms of share at the temple. And I would say over half of the ones that I've shared with the temple are done in Utah temples, you know, each day. So, you know, it is really quite a powerhouse for temple work. And like you said, I mean, you look at getting like an appointment at the baptistry for Utah temples, and you have to really plan out in advance a lot of times. And even here in Colorado, like I went to the Denver temple yesterday, and the Dowen session I went to, there was only like 2 empty seats in the whole session. It was at 11 o'clock in the morning. So, which just really kind of blew my mind because that's 11 o'clock in the morning, you know, like I was up there for work. So I stopped and did a session before I went back to Colorado Springs, and, you know, it was very busy.
You know, that's actually something that's like, I give credit where credit is due, and Utahns, they deserve that. I joke around hard against Utahns because there's always been this like California versus Utah Mormon, you know, not friction, but friendly rivalry, we shall say, since the 70s. On the western half of the United States of America here, right? But something Utahns are really, really good at, I noticed they bear a slightly different burden. They're really good at temple work, which I think is beautiful and awesome and amazing, but also fundraising. I noticed there is a drastic shift in the social expectation when you go to Utah over the social expectation of being elsewhere. Like when I go visit grandparents or aunts or uncles or people that are retired and go to Utah, here in California, they'll talk about projects they want to do that like the church is funding, and they're avant-garde, they're forward-thinking, you know, sometimes they're really cool stuff you can't get in Utah, but we don't get hit up like Utah wards get hit up. Like I was sitting in my grandparents' ward, and literally stake president comes in like a savage, and I thought this guy was just totally BA. I loved it. And he said, brothers and sisters, there's a need in this city. where we're building a temple in Africa, or we're helping build, some service project with the Catholic Church or whatever, and they need a well in this remote village, and the well is going to cost $100,000. 10 stakes in our region have been tasked with raising $100,000. Our $10,000. I want this within 48 hours. I know we can afford it. I know that you can be generous. And like, he didn't say like 24 or 40 hours, but he basically said like, by the time I'm here next Sunday, I want this money raised. Like, you need to go home. And he literally said, you need to go home and study your finances and figure out what you can sacrifice in your life in order to make sure that these brothers and sisters, who some are of our faith and some are not, but everybody deserves clean water. We're building an effing well. You go find the money. And I was just like, holy shit. I was just
do it.
Hot damn. Now that's a priesthood leader right there, dude. Like,
that's amazing.
And I've only ever seen that in Utah. We have also absurdly wealthy members in Los Angeles. I mean, there's some people here that are like utter billionaires, and I've seen them solve problems, just by stroking a check. So who knows? Maybe it was. And maybe that's just a cultural difference, not tied to money. But like, every time I've seen somebody come in like a savage and say, our brothers and sisters elsewhere need X and it's going to cost Y, go home and figure it out, it's been in Utah. So like, whoever that Alpha Chad stake president was, freaking, you're an Alpha Chad. And I wish I would have known your name and shaken your hand, because that was something that was Utah. I give Utahns credit, baby.
Yeah, Utahns have some of the worst, but they also have some of the best. So.
Yeah.
All right, let's go
By
to
the worst, can we name names? No, I'm just kidding.
I can.
All right,
let's go to
going,
number
bro.
6, Matt. Where are we going for the next temple?
Yeah, so number 6 is Lome, Togo. So for those of you who are not familiar with Togo, it is a small West African country that is between Benin and Ghana.
Who's not familiar with Togo? Come on.
I'm sure there's some, but anyway, so there's 3 stakes in Lome, there's 2 stakes in neighboring Benin and Cotonou. The church has grown really rapidly in Togo over the last about 10, 12, 15 years or so. And so, I mean, it seems like a logical place to have a temple being announced, because there's a good center of strength there. They actually had a really interesting situation happen where they had a local African chieftain who had gotten contact with the church over a service project in the city of Nolse, which is just north of Lome. And he pretty much told the church, I want you to create a branch in my city where my kingdom is based out of. And I might have some of these details not totally correct to the story, but that's what the mission did. They actually created a branch there, and there's a branch there today. So really kind of a neat story. But Lome seems like a very likely place to have a temple, just because we have a good center of strength. The church has been there for a while now. Seems to make a lot of sense, and also it's French speaking, and also is Benin as well. So you could have a French speaking temple for those 2 countries, which have a combined membership as of the end of 2023 of about 13,000 or so members. So
wow.
I think it makes a lot of sense for Togo to finally get a temple. So
hey, are we doing any of our Facebook missionary work in Togo?
Togo? Well, maybe. So we're doing ads so we've started doing broad-based ads that kind of cross borders. So we're losing a little bit of our
like to women
geographic. So what?
Broads?
Like broad-based, like instead of
I
thought
you're saying like to women.
We're advertising.
Has that fallen out of favor? Sorry, we've just been talking about feminism so much this week. I want to make sure, patriarchy and horses. Patriarchy and horses.
No, we're doing kind of cross-border stuff. So there could be some. There could be some in Togo. But let's just say that we know that there are some missionaries in Africa who are completely overwhelmed, with contacts right now. I wish we named cities the way that Togo names cities. First of all, your country's Togo. Your capital is Lome. You have a city, Grand Popo, a city, Mango.
Yes.
Like, the Africans just don't care. They just don't care.
That is
They're
awesome.
just like,
Mango.
The name is Zabra. Zabra, what's up? Like, what's wrong with that?
Dude, that's cool.
I wonder if these
man.
even mean anything, or if they, like, Tachamba. Like, does that even mean anything? Or are they just doing it just because, like,
Dude,
it sounds cool?
One of the coolest videos I've ever seen was, I think it was like a Jamaican guy that did an ode to the cucumber. He was like, cucumber.
Oh,
You know,
yes,
and he
I
just
heard
like, have you ever seen that one before?
Yes.
Oh, dude, it was
Cucumber,
so
yeah.
rad. So, before we go any farther, going to catch up on some super chats and just do a little recap here. Got several hundred more people have joined the chat. Welcome, everybody. If you want to contribute to the conversation, please send us a super chat. We do our best to read all of our super chats live and on air. The last 5 are here. We've got... oops, coming down. Okay, here we go. Minor Prophet Ian Malcolm says, any hints that the temple lot is going up for sale? I haven't heard anything. Jonah, Matt, Martinich, or Quant, have you heard anything?
About the Church of Christ temple lot?
Yeah, temple lot going for sale.
so
We got
this
the
is-
Nauvoo
this is gonna
temple.
be- Yeah, this is going to be our new initiative here, people. Okay, Cardin, look, you're on board with this. I didn't ask your permission, okay? We're all joining the Church of Christ temple lot. Look, if 1,000 of us join, okay, we basically gain majority voting power over the entire Church of Christ temple lot. Then we all vote to sell it to the Church of Jesus Christ. We come back to the Church of Jesus Christ and get rebaptized. We'll be heroes. Guys,
It's
we'll
just
be
a
heroes.
hostile takeover like an investment banker.
Hostile takeover of the whole. Just flood them. We could do this. We could organize, guys. The church can't do this. We can do this for them. Who's with me?
I am
Come
all
on.
for subversively building the kingdom, and that can't. What could be more subversive, right?
That is very subversive.
So, Mary Lou Whoworth, like the Who's in Whoville, just said, you pronounced my last name correctly the second time. Oh, I just butchered it. I'm just kidding. I saw it. I think she means Mary Lou Howarth. So I think Howarth, similar to Howard, is how it's supposed to be pronounced. Mary Lou, you are such a generous contribution to this channel. I want to make sure that I pronounce your name correctly, just like Dale Carnegie says. Nothing sounds better to a person than the correct pronunciation of their own name. We want to make sure we master this social science. So I believe it's Mary Lou Howarth, like Howard. Please tell me if I am wrong. I will try again. Or I will just hold your name hostage until you super chat us some more. No, I'm just kidding.
She's a fantastic Ward Radio missionary. She has been for a long time.
Yeah, like Carolyn Wright Gaines Music. Where's she been in a while? I got her name right, practically memorized. I gotta get Mary Lou Howarth memorized as well.
She probably got a stake calling, and so we never see her anymore because
that's
doesn't
true.
do anything.
So Clark, Matt, any info on progress of the Shanghai Temple? Ooh, Matt.
Well, I actually can't talk about that.
I knew it. Knew it.
Yeah, it's all those tariffs that Trump's putting on China. Shanghai's up for grabs now, and the mafia's involved.
Tariffs on deceased spirits.
We gotta smuggle the I-beams past the
what I will
flotilla.
say about that though is that the church is very, very careful with what it shares about its operations in China for many reasons. And so, I mean, just the announcement of the temple in Shanghai is really actually very unusual. I mean, it would be more on par with how the church has been functioning in China for them not to say anything at all about it. But it is a temple. It was announced, and they had people that there's been news articles where you have people and government officials in Shanghai saying that's never going to happen. I mean, they're of course going to say that, but yeah, I mean, the church is it keeps two different. It's almost like two different churches in a lot of ways. They're totally separate with how they function.
Okay. Mag Larson says, I was a Marine captain. Well, now you're just bragging, Mag. Just kidding. He says, I volunteer for the calling of Ward Combat Trainer, which when I'm Prophet and we start our paramilitary organization, finally, then I think you're going to be in the Rolodex, my man. You're going to be in the Rolodex along with fog defenses. What did he say? We need weapons, the John Moses Browning weapons designer calling.
Yeah, Department of Weapons Design
Department
and
of
the
Weapons
Porter Rockwell
Design.
Apologetics.
At which point there should be a helmet. We got I want a Mandalorian Spartan helmet and armbands. Got to have the Nephi armbands.
Well, what about a sword? Look, Armor of God has a sword included. I don't know why,
That's true. Yeah.
Now, while we're reading super chats, there's one regular chat
Okay.
We usually don't read regular chats from just anybody, but this is just too good not to read.
Okay.
This is from Johannes Hitz. Johannes says, I just got the Melchizedek priesthood and baptized 2 of my kids this week after leaving the church for 14 years.
Wow.
Nothing has felt more special in my life. I cannot wait to go back to the temple. Johannes, dude, bless you, brother. Bless you, man. You're doing it. You're doing it, man. You are slaying it. Check you out. You go back to the temple. That's what all this is about. All the stuff we're talking about is making the blessings of the temple more accessible to those who are alive and to those who are dead. Temple proxy work was done in the early Christians did it. Okay, temples are fundamental to the true gospel of Jesus Christ, and it is spreading over the whole earth. And Johannes, you have put your children on the right covenant path. Bless you, brother. You're killing it. You're killing it.
Okay, now that
We're so
that's
glad.
all over, I choose to shame him for having left in the first place and ask him to consider, does he feel guilty for all those years lost? No, I'm totally just
Worst.
kidding.
14 years.
Worst take ever,
Explain yourself.
You know what I'm saying? No, we're totally kidding, bro. Awesome. That is the redemption arc of Jesus Christ. It's something that is only possible with the atonement. And good on you, bro. Stuff. We'd actually like to know more of your story, my man. Can you share just the TLDR in another? Can you just share the TLDR in another chat? And if we see it, we'd love to read it and have those in the Ward Radio Wigwam get to know you a little bit better. That's a beautiful story, my man. So
coming back to church is the cool thing to do now.
yeah, it's beautiful.
Everybody's doing it.
Yeah, everybody's doing it. And so many of we're not a big show. Like what blows my mind is how many people share these beautiful stories and say we had a part somehow, whatever minuscule amount, was part of that. And I just think how I look at some of our videos, we'll get 10,000 views. That's nothing in the YouTube world. I help people that'll get millions of views on stuff, and it's just it's humbling and it's beautiful and I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that story. So Mag Larson was a Marine captain. He says he volunteers for the Calling of Ward combat trainer. The few, the proud, the Mormons. We don't need no stinking Boy Scouts. Not if we have a paramilitary group. Who needs not tie-in when you got, AR-15s? Exactly. You
Just
should learn
shoot
how
the knot. Hey,
Yeah. You should be knowing the difference between a 223 and a 556 by the time you get your first class. That's the only knot you need to know is a tourniquet and how to medevac your buddy. That's the way Mormonism 2032 is going to be. People you're he's so serious. The gospel that's turn the other cheek, right? Latter-day Soapbox. No, sorry. Motocross Kid. No, McBunny 8. Jeez, I'm missing a bunch of these. I would prefer Green River, Wyoming, but I will take Evanston. Okay. Why didn't they choose Green River? Matt, why didn't they choose Green River?
I don't necessarily think it's one city over the other. The reason why I chose Evanston is because there's 2 stakes there. But Green River is a possibility. Rock Springs, I think, is a more remote possibility. Lyman, I think, is a good possibility as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think somewhere in that area, I think, is a likely possibility. Okay,
Moto X Kid says Colorado Springs, Colorado, Charlotte, North Carolina, second pick for him, and Marikina or Quezon City, Philippines. Does this guy seem on? On
two
point?
of those cities already have temples announced. Colorado Springs, where I live, has a temple that was announced, and the site was announced a few months ago. And also Charlotte, North Carolina, that temple was also already announced. So
okay.
It would just
so they were right. Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that actually is the one. Quezon City is, I think, a less likely place to have a temple announced. I do have it on my map of predictions. There would be about 9 stakes served by a temple there. So.
Okay, Kaori says, to that point, it's pronounced Kyrie, like Kylie, but Kaori. Kiri. Wait, what?
Kyrie? Kaori.
Kaori. Oh, geez. Lols. I'm butchering it. Okay, sorry.
I met Kiori at Roots Tech. Solid dude.
Cool. Latter-day Saint Soapback says Price Utah Temple was in the last video but wasn't announced until last conference. I also heard a petition going around to stop its construction. They're trying to stop
There's
the
always
Price
a petition.
Utah?
In my own hometown here, born and raised here, they announced the temple about a year ago. I can't even explain. Guys, it's all blackberry brambles. It's blackberry brambles, and they're like, don't hurt the blackberry brambles. You can't hurt these poor blackberry brambles. Where will we get more of them? It's like there's 10 million acres of blackberry brambles in Washington State. Like they'll think of anything.
Did Nemo the Virgin show up to protest your temple as well?
Who?
Nemo the Virgin, you coined the term. Did he show up to protest your temple too?
He's no longer the Nemo the Mormon. He's
still a virgin or what?
Now.
Yeah. The Andrew says update on India Bengaluru temple, is construction halted?
Yes. Yeah, the temple, it's actually been boarded up, and all construction activity has stopped.
Why? Just bureaucratic nonsense? Somebody wanting a bribe or what?
That's a great question. I mean, the politics in India they really changed quite a bit, quite quickly. And you see that a lot with how many visas the church has allocated for foreign missionaries serving in India. I mean, the church has a semi-official missionary training center in India because of this issue in terms of training the local Indian members. But I imagine what's probably the situation is that with the Hindu nationalist government, when there's just periods that have happened when they stop a lot of these efforts the church has or other Christian groups have in India due to it being seen as a threat to Hinduism and Indian identity. So I imagine that's probably the most likely reason why that temple has stopped construction. But if you look at the most recent photos on the Church of Jesus Christ Temples.com website, you can see, really the exterior is mostly complete in terms of the main, frame and structure of the temple. So I'm not sure exactly what happened with why the construction stopped, because the church had the permission to do it, went that whole process. But like I said, in India, you get every so often you'll get these periods of time when the government or local government really clamps down on other religious groups. So.
Okay, cool. Jeez. Well, not cool. Cool that we understand. But okay, Christopher Rogers said, I say we buy the Boggs old house in Missouri, demo it, and build a temple. That is actually really, really funny.
Based.
That dude, you know what? That's like a funny joke, but actually
amazing.
The archaeologist in me absolutely cringes. Did you know the Muslim Brotherhood? I just found this out the other day when I was doing the tour of Egypt, that the Muslim Brotherhood was like seriously considering destroying the ancient Egyptian temples.
Oh, geez.
Like,
well, they destroyed the tomb of Jonah.
They did?
Right? Yeah, the tomb of Jonah in Syria. They demoed
that's
the
ISIS.
whole deal.
No, that was ISIS.
ISIS did. Yeah.
Yeah. Like there was some like, and that giant statue of Buddha that goes back like 2,000 years. ISIL destroyed that as well. I'm like, no, man. What we should do is something funny. We should make it like a family history center where any descendants of Lilburn Boggs can come do their family history for free, and just like we remind them that their ancestor was a horrible person. I'm just kidding. That's like directly in violation of our scripture that, the son shall not carry the burden of the father, right? What would be a funny thing to do to Lilburn Boggs' house? He already did to his own gravesite one of the funniest things. The only dead tree in the graveyard in California in that entire cemetery is over Lilburn Boggs' grave. It looks like his body just poisoned everything around it, and it's actually really, really funny, So like we could just, I don't know. I would want to keep it because that's the historian in me. But anyway, you're still funny, Christopher Rogers. Moto X Kid says Wildcard 1, Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, and Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea. What do you think about that, Matt?
Well,
already got Ulaanbaatar.
Both of those cities have temples already. So the one in Papua New Guinea is actually mostly complete now.
Okay.
Ulaanbaatar was announced in 2023 in October.
Okay. And then Latter-day Soapbox says, I served in the Vancouver, Washington mission. Jonah, I can't tell you how many service projects were removing blackberries. And he also says, I also lived in the Fife's backyard.
dude, do I know you? Like, that's right here. Like, I must know this person.
No.
Like, oh, holy cow, we were over the Fifes all the time waving at you guys. So, oh, that's crazy.
Did they have one of those
Thank
like
you for
guest
serving
houses
here.
in the backyard where missionaries live, or what?
No, they got a little. It's a cave. It's a cave they dug into the hill, and they
Okay.
hide them there when they're running from mobs of evangs.
Okay, cool. Finally,
take
Christopher
refuge.
Rogers says, first we make it the visitor center. That actually would be the ultimate flex. That is such a good flex. What if we just have a permanent refreshments in the house of Governor Lilburn Boggs?
Oh, geez.
And then right in the middle of his living room, we cut a hole and make a latrine for a public restroom that's a rest stop. Just like right where he signed that letter, we just dig a latrine and just people just take a dump on
No, you
his
know,
old-
you know what would happen? There would be this new movement of like pro Governor Boggs anti-Mormons
Yeah.
announcing to the world
Lilburn Boggs
about how
did nothing wrong. He was a
sweet
victim of the
Governor Lilburn Boggs.
patriarchy.
He was such a hero, and they're maligning him. And they would write these puff pieces and make these documentaries about how he was such a charitable man.
Dude, when transing your kids falls out of style for the crybaby anti-Mormons, they would just start naming their children Lilburn.
Lilburn.
Like, if they have them, you know. I'm just saying.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Let's keep going.
Yeah, let's hit it. So we're going to number 5.
Yeah, number 5 is Rigby, Idaho.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So if you look at where the temples have been announced or that are in operation in southeast Idaho, they're really in a line. I mean, I guess you could say from like Burley, but I'm looking at like Pocatello going to Rexburg. And there's 2 main urban areas that would likely get temples in the near future. One of those is Blackfoot, Idaho, and the other one is Rigby, Idaho. So I think Rigby's more likely to get a temple before Blackfoot because there'd be 9 stakes that'd be served by a temple in Rigby. About half of those are actually in the Rigby, like city of Rigby or right next to it. And I'm not sure if you guys or many of your viewers know this, but the church in Idaho has been growing tremendously in the last few years. It seems like a lot of it are Utah transplants that have been moving there for more affordable housing.
I was about to say, the Californians just tripled the rent in Utah.
I bet you.
And then the poor Utahns have to go up to Idaho. Pretty soon the Idahoans are going to have to cross the border into South Dakota just to be able to make ends meet, right?
Yeah, so I mean, if you've seen a lot of wards being created, and sometimes there's been like 3 wards created one weekend in southeastern Idaho in the last year or so. So a lot of tremendous growth from Pocatello to Rexburg. So.
Wow. Oh, crap. I accidentally pressed on number 4, so people know what it is now. Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Introduce us to Port Harcourt, Nigeria, Matt.
All right. So Port Harcourt, Nigeria is the city in the world with the most stakes without a temple.
Whoa.
So there are 9 stakes now in Port Harcourt. The first stake was created there back in 1990. That was the second stake created in Nigeria. Today there are now 80 stakes in Nigeria. The 80th stake
80 stakes?
Yeah, the 80th stake was just created in the last few weeks. Actually, a really interesting story is in Goboko, which 10 years ago didn't even have a branch. There was nothing there. And today there's a stake there now. So pretty impressive growth to go from nothing to a stake.
80 stakes.
Yeah.
I just gotta digest that for a second. There's 80 stakes in Nigeria.
Yes, there's 80 stakes. So to put that into perspective, that's the same number of stakes as there are in Argentina.
Whoa. Wow. So there's 80 stakes, but only 162 likes on this live stream. Everybody, make sure you freaking like the live stream. Gosh dang it. Okay? We work real hard here, and you got to lift your finger and press the like button and then share it with your friends and neighbors. Like the gospel. All right. This is incredible. So, why the reticence in building another temple there? 80 stakes, it seems like that would have been a no-brainer years ago. I'm sure people are screaming racism, but is it some silly like building code crap or what?
No, no. So in Nigeria, there's only one temple there today that's dedicated and functioning. That's in Aba, Nigeria, dedicated in 2005 by President Hinckley. That temple is only 11,500 square feet and it has a temple district of 80 stakes in it, which is pretty remarkable.
Is
But
it bumping attendance wise?
I don't think so, and the reason why is because it's so difficult for the Nigerian
To
members
travel.
to get there.
Yeah.
I imagine, I don't know the stats about this, but I would imagine if I could say what temple has the highest percentage of live ordinances being done, it's probably Aba, Nigeria, because I mean, you think of all these members that they've never been to the temple before. All these people have I mean, there are over 250,000 members of the church in Nigeria now, and out of those 250,000 members, about 200,000 of them have been baptized in the last 20, 25 years. So, there's a tremendous need for more temples in Nigeria. There are 5 more temples that have been announced since then. This last conference, we had a temple announced in Abuja, Nigeria. And just in the last couple of weeks, we did get groundbreakings announced for 2 temples, Lagos and Benin City. So there's been some progress made, but I mean, those temples aren't going to be done for years. Temples in Africa are difficult to build because of the construction.
Yeah, I hear that the church has to bring its own cement making machines because like there's an issue with the cement for the footings of the buildings, and that the church has stricter building codes oftentimes than the local municipalities do, and that they've literally in some of these temple building projects had to manufacture their own cement. Is that just am I butchering through the telephone game this story?
Well, what I do know about temple construction in Africa, so the temple in Kinshasa and the DR Congo, that temple was dedicated about 5 years ago. And they had a senior couple where they trained the construction crew to build that temple. And they had to make, like you said, their own cement.
Wow.
And, it's really difficult because they just don't have the quality of materials to build something that's that quality. And it's also going to last that long too, right? So, it's a challenge. I mean, I think the temples I haven't heard anything negative about the temples built that have been in other countries that have been there for a while, like Accra, Ghana, or like in Aba, Nigeria, but it does take a while. A lot of times construction is longer than in other places.
And just for reference, everybody, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints reached 250,000 members only after 1900. So it took over 70 years for the church globally to hit 250,000 members. Does my math sound about right on that, Matt? I'm just Googling this.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And yet Nigeria already has 250,000 members in it.
Studs.
Approximately. Yeah.
That is nuts.
That is
I don't think we properly like and it started in 1983 or something.
Speaking of which, you know what? I'm just going to throw this out here right now. If there's a very generous member that wants to be a little angel investor in a video we're going to make, I want to go meet these two first converts in Guinea-Bissau and make a video of how our actual Facebook missionary efforts worked. And I don't think it would be that expensive to get there and back. Like, I was looking up tickets like $2,500 to $5,000 for me and a small crew to actually make that happen. If you could facilitate that, we would totally go to Africa and film some content on why the church is booming there, and also meet some of these first converts, or at least figure out if we can or whatnot, because like Africa is such an integral part of the restoration right now. And I want to see that matrix, baby, and I want to bring that matrix to the Ward Radio audience. So if you want to be a participant in that, please reach out via the website, and I'll be checking those emails tonight, and we'll see if we can't make that happen. I commit to you, we'll make that happen if you commit to me to help make it happen. So keep going.
And Cardin, and sorry to interrupt, this detour into Africa is quite apropos. In the Discord, Cardin, in the Temple Predictions thread, there's a little map that I put in there of Africa.
Okay.
And it's how the church is doing. I used your website, Matt, as much as I could, but I threw this together quite quickly. So some of this might not be perfectly accurate. but it's just supposed to give you a general idea of how well the church is doing in spreading to Africa. Somehow in my head, I think that like we just barely got there. Like we're just starting out. I don't know why I have this in my head that like, wait, the church is in Africa now? Like this is a new thing. But actually,
That's racism and it's patriarchy. You need to read the CES letter.
Actually, if you look at the the data, especially the data that Matt curates on his LDSchurchgrowth.blogspot.com, you can see that the church is like everywhere in sub-Saharan Africa. Like it's in basically, at least nationally, it's recognized by most of the governments south of the Sahara. So you can see on this map here, the latest one, I think, Matt, that you just announced that I hadn't heard is that Central African Republic has now allowed missionaries, full-time missionaries, to first step in there. Some of the countries that I highlighted in yellow, the church is there. It's just barely getting on its feet. So everything you see that is yellow and green, the church is there. We're in everywhere in Africa, with the exception of Mauritania and Niger and Chad and some of those places kind of up more towards the Sahara. But
yeah, you want to know why Mauritania is holding out? It's capital of Atlantis.
Capital of Atlantis.
Yeah, their garden.
They don't want us to find out.
Their garden Atlantean secrets there.
That's what it is.
Can't trust the Atlanteans. No. So, all right, we're gonna go now, dude. We're already in overtime, but we're having so much fun here. We just to wrap this, not wrap this up, but just to do a recap here for the new 150 people that have just joined us. Number 10, Bulawayo, Zimbabwe. San Pablo City, Philippines, number 9. Number 8, Evanston, Wyoming. 7, Sandy, Utah. 6, Lome, Togo. 5, Rigby, Idaho. And 4, Port Harcourt, Nigeria. According to statistician, generally wildly intelligent and charismatic and attractive Q of the Ward Radio Wigwam.
We call him the Master of Secrets.
Yeah, Master of Secrets, Matt Martinich, who has greased the palm of the temple department itself in the church office building and has a red phone, like a bat phone, a proverbial Adam West bat phone, straight to Russell M. Nelson. He's given us the inside scoop here as to where we go next as a church to build temples. And we're going to see, just like those guys that take stats at baseball games, we're going to be watching General Conference, trying to take statistics as to how many are right. Third one on your list, my man, is Angeles, Philippines. Tell us about...
No, third is Bo, Sierra Leone.
Wait,
isn't it?
No, it's
that's correct. It's Bo, Sierra Leone.
Well, then your graphics sucks, bro. Yeah, because you did.
No! Did I mark it wrong?
Philippines. Yeah, dude, you put Angeles, Philippines.
Oh, shoot.
Hold on. Which one is it? Oh, no, you said 2 is Bo, Sierra Leone. Okay.
Okay.
So 2 or 3. 2 or 3. Go with Bo, Sierra Leone. Talk to us about Bo, Sierra Leone, Matt Martinich.
All right. So Bo is a pretty special city in Africa for several reasons. So one of them is that it is the city in Africa that has the largest population with the highest percentage of Latter-day Saints. And so Bo has a population of about probably 250,000 people. And there are now 4 stakes in Bo. And so if you look at how many members there are, it's probably about 5 to 10% of the city population are Latter-day Saints now.
Holy cow.
There's some wards in Bo that are really just a few neighborhoods now. In that city. And
what?
So it's pretty amazing. The first stake was created there just in 2017, followed by a second stake and a third stake, and then a fourth stake was just created a few months ago.
You're saying that there are some wards in Bo, Sierra Leone that are like Utah wards, where it's like a couple blocks and then you're into the next ward already.
Maybe not Utah level. I would say be more like maybe Arizona,
like Gilbert
level.
Or something.
Wow.
Yeah, I would
That's
say more
crazy.
Like
that. In Sierra Leone, think about that. That is just amazing.
Which is very unusual. I mean, in terms of a lot of times the church doesn't get to that high percentage in a particular area, with a few exceptions. Like there's this city outside of, small city outside of Puebla, Mexico, that's like that, where they have like 4 stakes and it's like a city of like 50,000 people. It's pretty crazy. But I mean, outside the South Pacific and the United States, it's pretty rare. And it's also interesting too in Sierra Leone because Sierra Leone's a Muslim majority country. And Sierra Leone also has the highest percentage of Latter-day Saints of any continental African country. So yeah, some pretty amazing growth. The first mission was just created in Bo just in the last year or so.
Wow.
Before that, I was a part of the mission in Freetown. But yeah, so very, very exciting. The church has grown there tremendously.
Okay,
Wow.
that's amazing, my man. Now back to Angeles, Philippines. Tell us all about Angeles, Philippines.
Yeah, so I think this is extremely likely. I would be shocked if this temple was not announced in the next couple conferences. And so the reason why is because a temple in Angeles would serve up to 13 stakes. And so it covers those stakes between Urdaneta and Manila. This area has experienced a lot of growth in the last 10 years. So in a neighboring Olongapo mission, there was just one stake in about 7 or so districts 10 years ago. Now all of those districts have become stakes. So this area of the Philippines has had a lot of maturing that's happened. I think the reason why we haven't had a temple yet in this area is because even though Angeles is one of the largest cities in the Philippines, it has an extremely low percentage of Latter-day Saints. There's only 2 stakes there, and both those stakes are fairly small. And so I think that's one of the challenges here is that there's not necessarily a good center of strength to have a temple that can serve the surrounding area. But there's been, an increasing number of stakes being created in this area of the Philippines. So I think that it is a very likely candidate for the next temple in the Philippines.
Okay,
Cool.
now we're gonna tell the audience what your first pick is after I read these super chats. First, Latter-day Soapbox says, I served in the Vancouver, Washington mission, Jonah. Can't tell you how many. Oh, no, I read that one. Sorry. Christopher Rogers says, fine, we can make it a visitor center, obviously referring to the Lilburn Boggs house. And then Elizabeth Zajac, great name, says Temple Boat, a true Ark of the Covenant. I'm digging a temple boat. Talk about beating your swords into plowshares. What if we just bought a bunch of retired naval vessels? Dude, seriously, you know what I'm saying? Like,
They're just lying around.
they're just lying around. Did you know at one point Pepsi had like the largest navy? Yeah, like
Really?
there was all of this debt that the USSR owed Pepsi Cola that it had to pay, and they agreed to barter for retired Navy boats. So at some point, like Pepsi Cola had like a Navy that was like the 8th largest Navy in the world because they owned a bunch of old USSR naval ships, right? So we could get one of those naval ships and make it a launching pad, like an aircraft carrier for our paramilitary group. We can make one a floating temple, all right, and then one an ark that holds all of the artwork and backup records of genealogy for in case, there's like, nuclear fallout somewhere or something, we're like hanging out in the ocean, not stressing, drinking desalinated water, 30 years of MREs, whatever we got to do, like we could just, have that in one of those boats. That'd be kind of cool. Latter-day Soapbox says Battleground, but I've heard legends about you. So I think he's talking about you, Jonah. He must have served in Battleground.
The Battlegrounds. That's right. That's right where I live. I was just going to say that reminds me of Coca-Cola getting the Navy when the Russian army in the war in Ukraine just like left an S-300 missile system and abandoned it in the field. And some Ukrainian farmer hooked his tractor to it and towed it home. And they had to update the Wikipedia page to list the number of countries that have access to such an advanced missile system. And so it's like the United States has 100 systems, Russia has 50 systems. Some guy named Yevgeny has one. Like they updated, like some dude in his backyard has like this intercontinental missile system, just like chilling. Yeah, I got this in the.
Hey, look what I found on a battlefield between two large superpowers. Dude, the proxy war's got some crazy silver linings, man. Can we recycle this? So Bo Nyling says, I am special, Winky. All right. Thank you, Bo. And Christopher Rogers. Oh, would you like to do your duty, ward clerk? with
Oh my
one
goodness.
Christopher Rogers.
Christopher Rogers, we have just received the records for Brother Christopher Rogers into the Ward Radio Worship. All those who would like to welcome Brother Rogers, please do so by the uplifted W in the chat. We'll get you a calling right away, Brother Rogers.
And Benjamin K. Weber says, I want a Moses portable temple on a cruise ship. Awesome. And we got Pizza Doctor in the house. Thank you very much, Benjamin K. Weber, for the very generous super chat, giving that a little like right there. And Pizza Doctor says, Jonah, the only door I knocked on my mission in Bulgaria, which led to a baptism, is a man who is a professional artist. I recently had him paint the Vancouver, Washington temple in front of Mount St. Helens with Jesus condemning it with lightning strikes as the lava flows over the unrighteous. No, I'm totally just kidding. It says, I recently had him paint the Vancouver, Washington temple in front of Mount St. Helens. Can I email it to you? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah. Attach that, my man. Attach that via the website. Just email us on the website and we will get that in the hot little hands of Jonah Barnes.
Get in touch with me, man. I'll order a print for pity's sakes. That sounds amazing.
I was about to say, we'll put a print on here. Speaking of prints, dude, look what I'm getting, bro.
What are you getting?
No, I already got, but I just got the what do you call this?
The milk cream.
No, remember
cream
Library
strippings?
of Godwin's print, that original print that he made for me of the Nephilim.
Dude, cool.
That was, and there's the City of Enoch coming up and everything like that. It's going inside of this frame, bro. I just got this yesterday and I haven't framed it yet. But yeah, so we could do something sick. Speaking of which, Library of Godwin, if you're talking, we got to talk about a new Book of Mormon, bro, just for Ward Radio with your art in it. I think that would be sick.
Godwin, man, that is a feather in the cap of the church. That guy is awesome. If you haven't seen Library of Godwin, go check out that episode.
We don't need to blow him up too much. I don't want his head to get big. He's living in England now. He's gonna start thinking. He's special.
You just don't want other people finding out about him.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's our guy.
No, exactly. Like, dude, don't rain on my parade here, bro. Godwin, you suck. We're all you got. We're the only help that you got.
He's pretty novice.
You know what I'm saying? Your artwork sucks. Can we print 50,000 and sell them? You know what I'm saying? Like that be. Yeah, no, phenomenal artist. You got to check out his stuff. His name is Library of Godwin. You can find him on Instagram. We love pubbing him. So, Pizza Doctor says, I'm going to finish his super chat here. I just had to refresh my screen. Unfortunately, I had a little bit of a micro crash there. Pizza Doctor, where is this again? Yeah, it says, Jonah, the only door I knocked was... Oh, can I email it to you? Sorry. I take that back. Okay, so now back to the bottom. Did you get Lem Jewip 17 who joined?
We have just received the records for Lem Jewip 17 into the Ward Radio Wigwam. All those who would like to welcome Brother Lem Jewip 17, please do so by putting a W in the chat. We have had a mass influx of members into the Ward Radio. We are like Africa. We're like Africa. This channel is exploding with members. We got to come up with some good members-only content. You know, we got to come up with some good stuff for all these new members.
Actually, it's kind of funny.
So exciting.
50 people just joined in the past 10 minutes to our live stream. I think a bunch of people just got home from date night. You know what I'm saying? Like, Friday nights are always pretty funny. Hey, all you lovebirds out there, good on you for taking your wives out to do some date night. Just to recap here, so you know, if you're
turn off the stream and go make some babies, guys. We're in the middle of a fertility crisis.
Yeah, exactly. Okay? What could you be
watch
more
this
healthy
in an
and
hour.
wholesome? You know, well, but you can't super chat in an hour. So super chat us before you go.
That's
make
true.
your babies.
Good point. That's a good point.
It's a good point. So anyway. So far here, just so everybody can see that is joining the Ward Radio Wigwam, we are here with none other than our personal quant, our own wizard behind the curtain. Okay, we are here with the man with the plan and a calculator who's been able to guess with a decent amount of accuracy. Like, if you had a batting average in baseball, it would be pretty good. So his batting average is pretty good at guessing. In what do they say? An educated guess of making educated guesses as to where the next temples will be. And his name is Matt Martinich. He runs the
Martinich.
blog Martinich. Sorry, it's spelled Martinich, but it's pronounced Martinich.
It's because he's a spy. So
Yes.
he spells it differently.
He runs the blog that you guys can check out here on your screens. Growth of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at ldschurchgrowth.blogspot.com. You can check him out there. And he suggests the following temples will be announced in conference. First, Bulawayo, Zimbabwe, as 10. 9, San Pablo City, Philippines. 8, Evanston, Wyoming. 7, Sandy, Utah. 6, Lome, Togo. 5, Rigby, Idaho. 4, Port Harcourt, Nigeria. And mislabeled as 2, but really 3, Bo, Sierra Leone. And then mislabeled as 3, but really 2, Angeles, Philippines. And now we're getting to the good part. Where does Matt Martinich, large and in charge, big brain Matt, think that the last or the most likely temple to be built will be? Everybody, drum roll. We got to have a drum roll, bro. Everybody at home, got to give a drum roll. Get a little drum roll. You feel it? It is going to be in, are you ready for it? Are you ready for it? Boom!
All right. It's
Spanish
Fork,
Utah.
Utah.
Spanish Fork, Utah.
Wow, okay. Why, brother? Why?
So I don't know why the church has not announced a temple for Spanish Fork
Because
yet.
you keep announcing it. That's why, just to spite you. The other geeks in the church office building, you do a better job than them. They're jealous, so they spite
They're
you.
jealous.
Well,
They're jealous.
I think there's probably the reason why I think it hasn't happened is because the Provo City Center Utah Temple and also the Payson Utah Temple, they're both fairly large temples, like we talked about earlier in this episode. So like the one in Payson is almost 100,000 square feet. The City Center one is 85,000 square feet. So, and they're not that far away from Spanish Fork, but if you look at a map of all the stakes, there's about like 25 stakes in Spanish Fork, Mapleton, and Springville, that whole cluster there, that would very easily support a temple. And I mean, there's a lot of growth in this area, as there is like in Payson and even still in Provo. I mean, the new stake was just created in Provo last week or last month or so. So I think that Spanish Fork is a really obvious choice. It's going to happen eventually. You know, it's one of those temples that, you know, like Price, Utah. It's going to, of course, that one's like a way smaller area, but I mean, there's a lot of stakes in Spanish Fork and that surrounding area.
Justice for Spanish Fork. Come on. Why do they hate Spanish Fork? You know, it's because Spanish Fork already has a temple. It's the Hare Krishna temple. That's what it is.
Yeah,
They
true
already have
that.
the Hare Krishna temple down there.
True that. I'm digging it,
Yeah.
man. I noticed the cultural infusion that you had in your AI art there of which which temple would come up next. You know, we really should start doing an interfaith collaboration with the Hare Krishnas. You know,
yeah.
just like that'd be kind of sick.
They're super cool. They were all
Yeah.
over my mission. We met them all. One of my most dear converts was a big Hare Krishna guy, and he converted to the church.
Really?
There's a lot of. They're awesome. They're great. Super weird, but super great.
Okay, people say the same about us, so I'll take it. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'll take it. So
We are also thrilled to have just received the records for stripling boomer Elizabeth Zajac, Jonathan D, Loiru, Bobby, and there was one more. And Denibus. All those who would like to welcome these new members into the Ward Radio Worship, please do so by putting a W in the chat. How many members have we had join?
today we've had
70 members? This is getting
61. No,
ridiculous.
we've had 61. And
Sweet.
also, we only
Merciful
got 6
Moses.
minutes left here before we got to go, guys. We are winding down here, but if you have a comment that you want to make, please make sure that you guys give us a super chat. We do our best to read all of those live online. Also, a big shout out to all of the members that have joined in the chat. Thanks for joining us. Make sure you press the like button. We only got 245 likes, but we got triple that are watching us, guys, make sure on all platforms that you like this stream and you share it with your friends. Come on, just do us a little bit of a favor here, all right? And also got a last couple of super chats here. Motocross Kid gifted 5 Ward Radio memberships. Did you already read those all?
I just read those, yeah.
Okay. Sean of Time says, I can't make any more babies, but I suppose I can go practice. Look, practice does not make perfect, my friend, but perfect practice makes perfect. So,
hey, you gotta prepare for the eternities, guys. We gotta get ready for the eternities.
We just found a way to religiously codify lovemaking. So,
I love it.
What could be better? What could be better? That and the Mandalorian helmets. We need Mandalorian helmets.
Why not both? ¿Por qué no los dos?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We could have it on our ship when we're beating swords into plowshares and we're converting naval vessels into Arks of Covenants. Then is that like attorneys general? Is it when we're converting them? What's the plural
of you just tuning in?
arcs?
This is a weird show.
Yeah, exactly. And then Dynabus. Oh, we just got another member, Dynabus. Did you already welcome Dynabus?
Just read Dynabus, and
Okay,
yes,
sorry,
yes,
okay,
integral
awesome.
part of the ward.
All right, so we are all caught up. My man, Matt Martinich, is there any other insights that you follow besides where temples are going to be built that you can share with us, my man? Because your brain is something I could just pick all day long. You're so smart, you're so cool, and your insights are so valuable. Is there anything else besides proposed temple sites that you follow that you could give us insight in these last 3 minutes?
Sure. Yeah. So I like to, of course, study the actual data, right, and see what things are looking like. But I do like to make predictions. I like to predict where new missions will be announced. I will be making a post on my blog this evening or tomorrow morning about predictions for the 2024 statistical report. Last year, I have good evidence to believe that we had the highest number of converts baptized in about 25 years last year, which is a really big deal. So, I'm going to be, writing about that. I look at, really trying to see where the church is going to be going next and also describing where things are at now. But most of what I do, it's not necessarily predicting the future. That's mostly with the temples and missions and stuff. I typically look at more of describing what's going on now. And of course, making predictions on where growth might be in the coming years and decades. So.
Okay, awesome. Thank you very much, Pizza Doctor, again for your super chats, as well as Stripling Boomer for the we highlighted this earlier, but we're going to highlight it again. You notice that we take notes with these pencils in the Ward Radio Wigwam. Just got a new pencil sharpener. I am so stoked for this thing.
Did you have that on the wish list? Did you have a pencil sharpener on the wish list?
Like literally, look, dude, I've been using, and you'll go back to old live streams when I use the pencil. So for certain notes, I use the pen, and then for certain notes, I use a pencil, right? And I like the old school pencils here. In fact, when my mother passed, she was an elementary school teacher. And one of the ways that I stay close to her is I use the old pencils from my elementary school that she had left over. And I got a huge, massive stash of them. Instead of throwing them away, I actually still use them. The only problem is that the razor blade inside of this 2-part sharpener had gotten dull over time and finally broke. So I was trying to use the larger one for the larger pencils, but it doesn't work that well. And I just got so frustrated. I finally said, I need a better sharpener. And when I went on Amazon to go buy another crappy one of these for only $13, they had an Amazon Basics electric one that is rad. It's USB powered, super sharp. The reviews were 15 out of 15 people said 5 out of 5 stars. It was really good. So I was like, hey, I'll put that on the wish list. Within 24 hours, Stripling Boomer, like a Chad, I don't know, or a Chadette, hooked us up with that. So thank you very much, Stripling Boomer. Also, there was another very generous member that got Brittany her power bank because her phone keeps dying in the Ward Radio Wigwam. We got the cord from Polly Nikes 2000. Thank you very much, Polly Nikes 2000. And we also got the power bank from Stripling Boomer as well. Pizza Doctor has also been very generous in the Amazon wish list as well, if I'm not mistaken. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out with us, guys. Please, when you go to the Ward Radio merch store, I got some other cool things I got to announce. These were supposed to come actually for Black Friday, and then I forgot to pick them up at my printer, and he finally called me. He said, hey, are you ever going to pick these up? And I totally forgotten. It was going to be an announcement I made back on Black Friday, but now I have an entire box full of Ward Radio fridge magnets.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we've got a buttload of Ward Radio fridge magnets, okay, that I got to get. They're just promo items I got to get rid of. So you're going to get a free fridge magnet if you order any of the goods that are still in the merch store. And if I'm not mistaken, there's an old discount code that has not been completely used up.
Those fridge magnets would be perfect for the fridge in your kitchen area in your local church building, wouldn't they?
Oh,
wouldn't they just be perfect
my
for
goodness gracious. I hadn't even thought about that. That's such a great idea. So anyway, if we go onto our website here, I just want to make sure that I have the right discount code mentioned here, because I'm basically going to do something where everybody that purchases goods is going to get one of these fridge magnets. It looks like there's still a discount code of, oh no, they've all been used up. Dang it. Wait, no, they haven't. No, they haven't. Oh, that's just for Stripling Boomer stuff. Okay, there's 20% off all products still from an episode where we were promoting a book. I believe it was Jonah Barnes' book, Key to the Keystone. I bought the book 20. Will give you 20% off all products, and there's still several of those left. So if you want this fridge magnet, go in right now, buy some goods in the Ward Radio merch store, okay? And you're going to get one, maybe even two of these fridge magnets, okay? And we're going to hook you up. The fridge magnets are fun, and you're going to get 20% off all products. Just use I bought the book 20, and the numeral is 20. So I bought the book and the numeral 20, and you will get 20% off all products. And we're going to give you a fridge magnet. If you want a second one, just let us know. I think with a third, it messes with the weight of the box. So
and if I could add one last thing here before we close. Speaking of books, so I'm working on another book right now, specifically about the temple. And it's about how the things we do in the temple were all done by Jesus Christ during the 40-day ministry. That's what he did. He taught his disciples, he taught his apostles, temple ordinances. This is all recorded in apocryphal texts and ancient texts. It's not something that the rest of the Christian churches want to talk about because they don't have temples. Okay, but in a forthcoming book, we'll be talking about how all this stuff was done anciently. When you go to the temple, guys, when you do these things, these are not made up by Joseph. They're not 19th century creations. These are ancient rituals. Some have been done for thousands of years. Some were just instituted by Jesus in antiquity during the 40 days. But these temples being built around the world sets our religion apart from all other religions. We believe that everyone who ever lived in every country, in every age, has to have access to the gospel, and we're trying to give them access to those saving ordinances. No other religion does this. The restored gospel is the only one in which God has the desire, the capacity, and the plan to save absolutely everyone who's ever lived on the earth. And building these temples is integral to that plan. It's a glorious thing that we get to witness happening. And with all the fun we have, I hope we don't forget that this is the most glorious work that has ever been done. This is the most amazing thing you could ever be a part of, rolling out these temples. So thank you so much, Matt, for talking to us tonight. Thank you. This has been really fun.
You're a stud. Yeah. Last super chat is from Fidget the Crazy. Did you ever get my email of the SCVG files and the art? No, I haven't yet because I also haven't checked yet, but I will be checking that out, Fidget the Crazy. Thank you so much for the super chat. And Matt, final words, bro. You know, you're the coolest geek in the Ward Radio wigwam right now, dog. Just take us home.
Well,
take us home.
What I will say is, in terms of new temples being announced, it's getting harder and harder to predict that in a lot of ways, because we're having so many small places that are getting temples announced. You know, so like I could see Alamosa or like the San Luis Valley in Colorado being a temple announced this weekend potentially. You know, but I think there's about 195 or so locations around the world that seem likely to have a temple announced as soon as this weekend. But that number is going down a little bit each conference because the church is not growing as fast as temples are being built. So that could change. I mean, a church could grow faster, or they could announce temples at a lower rate. But I just wanted to bring that up. I think it's important for people to realize that this current trend is not sustainable unless we see something change. So we'll
okay.
see.
Awesome. Cool. Well, guys, it's been real and it's been fun and it's been real fun for this and more. Please make sure you guys check us out at wardradio.com.
I built a rocket in my basement. I'm gonna fly it to the moon. This supersonic is amazing. You're gonna feel my sonic boom. I'm flying higher and I'm never coming down. Look at me now.